April 19, 2024. At midnight, Taylor Swift unveiled Fortnight, the lead single from her 11th studio album, The Tortured Poets Department. Within hours, the music video had captivated millions. Featuring an unexpected collaboration with Post Malone, the cinematic piece presented a departure from Swift's previous visual aesthetics. This wasn't just another music video, it was a carefully constructed narrative that would spark countless interpretations. The black and white imagery, the asylum setting, the haunting symbolism, every frame seemed designed to tell a deeper story about memory, loss, and the stories we tell ourselves when love ends. Post Malone's involvement marked a significant creative choice. Known for his genre-blending approach to hip-hop and rock, Malone brought a melancholic gravitas to Swift's already emotional composition. The two artists had never collaborated before, making Fortnight a genuine surprise for fans of both. Swift had been methodical in her feature selections throughout her career, and this partnership signaled her continued willingness to cross genre boundaries. Malone's vocals provided a counterpoint to Swift's narrative voice, creating a dialogue within the song that mirrored the video's exploration of two people trapped in their own separate realities, unable to reach each other despite their proximity. The video opens in what appears to be a mid-century psychiatric facility. Swift, dressed in period-appropriate attire, undergoes experimental treatments administered by clinical figures. The setting is deliberately unsettling, a metaphor for the ways we process heartbreak and emotional trauma. Throughout her career, Swift has used institutional imagery sparingly, making this choice particularly striking. The asylum becomes a literalization of being trapped inside one's own mind, unable to escape of painful memories. Medical equipment, sterile rooms, and detached observers create an atmosphere of alienation. Swift isn't just remembering a relationship, she's being treated for the crime of feeling too deeply, punished for her inability to forget. One of the video's most controversial images depicts Swift undergoing what resembles electroconvulsive therapy. The sequence is brief but jarring, a direct visualization of attempting to erase painful memories through force. This isn't subtle symbolism, it's a bold statement about the violence we sometimes wish we could inflict on our own consciousness. The treatment scenes suggest a desperate desire to become someone else, someone who never loved and therefore never lost. Swift has always been willing to confront difficult emotional terrain in her work, but rarely with such stark, clinical imagery. The medical framework transforms emotional suffering into something pathological, something that requires intervention and cure rather than simple time and healing. Throughout the video, a vintage typewriter appears repeatedly, a direct connection to the album's title, The Tortured Poets Department. Swift types furiously, creating and recreating narratives, perhaps trying to write herself into a different ending. The typewriter becomes both creative tool and instrument of obsession, a way to control the story when the reality proved uncontrollable. For an artist who has built her career on autobiographical songwriting, the image carries particular weight. These aren't just memories, they're drafts, revisions, alternative versions of events. The poet in the asylum isn't mad, she's simply unable to stop revising, unable to accept that some stories don't have satisfying conclusions. The blank page becomes another form of prison. Post Malone exists in parallel spaces throughout the video, sometimes visible to Swift, sometimes not. He appears in windows, in adjacent rooms, always separated by some barrier. This visual strategy emphasizes disconnection, two people occupying the same emotional space but unable to truly reach each other. Malone's presence isn't aggressive or confrontational, instead, he seems equally trapped, equally powerless. The video suggests that heartbreak doesn't have a villain, just two people whose realities no longer align. His scenes mirror Swift's, creating a symmetry that emphasizes how both parties suffer in the aftermath of connection. The barriers between them, glass, walls, different rooms, represent the unbridgeable distance that can emerge even between people who once shared everything. The decision to film in black and white wasn't merely aesthetic, it was narrative. Color drains the world of warmth, leaving only stark contrasts and shadows. Swift has used color symbolically throughout her career, from the red of passion to the pastel hues of nostalgia. Here, the absence of color suggests an absence of life, of possibility. The monochrome palette recalls classic cinema, particularly films about memory and psychological disturbance. It creates a sense of timelessness, making the video feel both contemporary and archival, as if we're watching recovered footage from someone's subconscious. The black and white world is one without nuance, without the gradients that make life livable, only extremes, only absolutes. The video's impact was immediate and measurable. Within 24 hours of release, Fortnight had accumulated millions of views, dominating social media conversations and trending globally. The Tortured Poets department itself broke multiple streaming records, with Fortnight serving as the album's introduction. Swift's ability to generate cultural moments through her visual work has become a defining feature of her career. Each release is an event, carefully orchestrated and deeply analyzed. The collaboration with Post Malone introduced his fanbase to Swift's latest era while giving her own audience something unexpected. The numbers tell a story of sustained relevance and an artist operating at the peak of her cultural influence. With Fortnight, Swift continues her evolution as a visual artist willing to take risks. From the whimsical narratives of her early career to the increasingly complex symbolism of her recent work, each era has pushed boundaries. The asylum setting and medical imagery represent her most psychologically intense visual work to date. This isn't escapist fantasy or romantic nostalgia, it's a confrontation with the darker aspects of emotional processing. Swift has always understood that music videos can be more than promotional tools, they can be art objects in their own right. Fortnight joins a lineage of her most ambitious visual projects, standing alongside works that have defined her capacity for reinvention and her refusal to repeat herself creatively.